Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Gritty Hour. Today I have a special guest, David Fradin, who is the author of Letters from My Hymie, which is I'm going to assume a book of collections of letters written during World War II. And he made a book out of it, so we're happy to have him on the show. Welcome to the show, David.
Glad to be with you.
So tell us a little bit about this book, Letters from My Hymie.
Well, a cousin of mine somehow got a hold of letters that he wrote home to his 6 other siblings during World War II, and they're pretty funny. They're very humorous. And his name was Hyman, and sometimes he went by the shortened nickname Hymie.
Right.
So that's how I came up with the title, Letters from My Hymie. A little first-person history of immigration from Ukraine in 1914 to the New World, World War II, Disneyland, and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
An awesome humorist, very good writer, but he became a plumber.
Uh-huh. So he was born in Ukraine and came to America. Yeah, I'm sorry.
His father was born in Ukraine.
Okay.
And worked his way up as a blacksmith through the Russian or the army, and ended up as the blacksmith to the governor of Kiev.
Oh.
And they didn't have a mayor then; it was called a governor. And the governor, the seventh pogrom was about to get started, where the Cossacks tried to wipe out all the Jews. So the governor gave him several $100 and told him to get out of the country before they kill him. He used that money to travel by trade to the Atlantic and got onto a boat and landed at Ellis Island in New York.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to ask, is where he landed in America. Did he settle in New York?
A little bit, and then he gravitated towards Baltimore, and that's where my dad was born in 1917. And then he moved to Washington, D.C. He had a hardware store, a grocery store, a liquor store. And the funny thing is, all of his siblings went into retail businesses, hardware, clothing, things like that.
Right. And he was, his religion was Jewish, right?
Right.
Well, it's a good thing he got the hell out of Europe when he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the book takes us from, I guess, breezes over the immigration story, but it really takes us into when he served. He served in the U.S. Army.
Yeah, the U.S. Army, and he enlisted in the Army in 41, but he was how would you call it? Kicked out or taken out because he had flat feet.
Ah.
And then he felt guilty wandering the streets of Washington, D.C. in 1942 as an able-bodied man. So he re-enlisted, and they put him in the Marines, infantry.
Ah.
Ironic. And he ended up getting a $10 check every month from the Veterans Administration for his aggravated disability.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Well, your feet get less flat after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, you know.
That's right.
Yeah, they were a little less, you know. But so I'm going to assume he fought in the Pacific because he was in the Marines?
Well, he never went into combat.
Oh, okay.
He was stationed in Guantanamo Bay for a while. He stole the commander's motorcycle, which resulted in him getting banned into kitchen patrol and peeling potatoes. And then he was also at a large army post in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where, since he spoke Yiddish fluently, which is very close to German, they used him as an interpreter of the interrogations of the German prisoner of war.
Interesting. Yeah. And a lot of them were down there when they shipped them from Europe to the United States, right?
They went to Chattanooga. I don't have any information about him serving in North or in South Carolina, but I remember him talking about it and how much he hated Southern comfort. I suspect he probably drank too much of it while he was in the service.
So that brings us to his actual war service, which I'd like you to just delve into. But while you do that, do you mind if I share the screen for the book, which I believe is davidfradin.com, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, would you mind if I shared that page while we talk?
No, not at all.
Okay. So there it is. There's the book, Letters from My Hymie. And you can find the link to it in the show notes below this episode, whether you're on YouTube or Spotify or Apple or wherever you're listening to us from. It's a cool book cover.
Yeah, that was him when he was in Quantico, which was the Marine training center or a recruitment center.
Right.
And he writes on the bottom of it, the pride of Quantico.
I see. Okay.
And the
And
reason you see the title Duke ahead of my name is I found in the my research for the book a book in France called the Book of Fradin. And it tells the story of my grandmother about 26 generations ago,
is that right?
escaping from Spain during their attempt to kill all the Jews in Spain. And she was traveling with a small party north through western and southern France, and got surrounded by a bunch of robbers. And a gallant young man on a horse with a big sword came to her rescue, and his name was Fradin. She was 15 at the time. He fell madly in love with her. They got married, had children. He converted to Judaism from Catholicism. And then a few generations later, when the French said, if you don't convert, the Jews don't convert to Catholic, we'll kill you. So later generations converted to Catholic. And one of my grandfathers served as a general in Napoleon's army. And another one was given the title of Duke by King Louis, I think the fourth. And in French aristocracy, if a member of your family is named a Duke, then all the men in the future will be known as the Duke name.
Wow.
That's why. So I found out I was a Duke. And of course, I called up my daughter and said, I'm now a Duke. Please
What?
give a little bit of respect. And she said, no.
I want to talk about the book, obviously, but now you got me interested in how did you find that out, and when did that occur? The wedding of did you say great aunt?
I know grandmother about
Oh,
26
grandmother.
generations ago, back in the 13th to 14th centuries when she left Spain, went to France.
I
And
got to know how the hell you found that out.
well, there's this book of Fradin, which also had a family seal on it,
Hmm.
which I refuse to let Donald Trump see, otherwise he'll borrow it for his Mar-a-Lago.
Well, he might buy it from you.
And it's all in French, but of course you can stick it into Google Translate, and it'll translate the whole thing to English.
Well, that's
The book. One Fradin was a mayor of Lyon, France. Another Fradin started a winery, which I hear is still going, and so it's quite a history.
well. Have you ever been over there?
I've
You
been,
personally?
yeah, I've been to Paris. I've been to Nice, but this was before I knew that I was a French descent.
Oh, well, now you got to go back and visit that distillery,
Yeah, the winery. Yeah.
the winery. Yeah, that's unbelievable. It's great to have access to that lineage, your own personal ancestry like that.
Yeah, then I think they survived in France for 2 or 3 centuries. And then the French had an Inquisition like Spain, and a lot of the Jews emigrated to the Ukrainian area of Russia. And that is from where my grandfather left to come to the United States.
Right, right. Wow, it all makes sense. It all makes sense. Yeah. So let's get to this book. I am assuming it's a collection of letters that Jaime, can I call him Jaime too?
Sure.
Had written, I guess, to his parents back and forth while he was in boot camp or stationed in the South during the war, or Guantanamo Bay, as you say.
Yeah, he wrote it primarily to his eldest brother,
Okay.
Morris Fradin, who was a librarian for the U.S. Navy at the Pentagon.
Hmm.
Uh, and he, being a librarian, he saved all these letters. And he was constantly encouraging my dad to get published because he was a very good writer. But my dad was always afraid to send a query letter in, which is the way you got published back then. You send a query letter to a publisher and say, "Hey, I got this idea for this article. Would you like me to write it?" And then, of course, pay me for it. So he hated to get rejected. So he never got published.
Hmm.
But now, by me publishing all of his letters, he's now been published.
Well, that's thanks to you, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how did you come across the letters? Is my first question.
I've got a cousin, Diane, who had them, and she sent them to me in the mail. A big, thick envelope with these graying letters, and apparently paper back then was in a short supply. So it was written on backs of envelopes, on sheets from the officers club that he stole, apparently because he was not an officer, he was just a private first class. And the only thing he didn't write it on was toilet paper.
Well, that's good, and he had a sense of humor, which makes it a good read, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, this is your website, and I see you personally have written other books as well.
Yeah, I teach product management and product marketing. My number one client is Cisco, and between myself and my other traders, we've trained about half of all the product managers at Cisco over the last 15 years.
Interesting.
So I've written some books dealing with that, like the one you can see at the bottom there, building and sailing, building and sailing great products.
It's such an emotional book. You get choked up just reading the title.
That's right.
That's all right. So, and organizing and managing insanely great products. Interesting. Yeah, I should
Correct.
have had John for that too. Talk about those two bad boys. How did they do?
They're doing fairly well,
Yeah.
being self-published on Amazon.
Hmm.
The, the highly um, Wiley, the book publisher, um, asked me to write a book, which is a little 796 page pamphlet called success, Managing Successful Product Design and Management Toolkit. And it's used in two executive MBA programs at universities in India. And they gave me the title of Distinguished Professor. So
Interesting.
called my daughter up to see if I could get a little respect, and she gave me the same answer.
So she's a chop buster, your daughter,
Yeah,
huh? That's good.
I disowned her.
Yeah. Yeah, I found letters from my Hyme before I came to your own website. I found it on Amazon, actually. There's also a site called, I don't know if you can see this as I click on it, a site called Spice Catalyst.
Yeah,
I
Spice
don't know.
Catalyst is where uh, where I do my product management and product marketing training.
Okay. It has a pretty good description of the book on it,
Yeah,
and and a good synopsis of your career as well. So yeah, maybe I'll put the link to this site too, if that's okay with you,
absolutely.
on the show notes. So this is a better picture, I think, of the book, a little closer up. It looks somewhat. The building behind him looks so much like New York. I was surprised when was it. What'd you say it was Quantico?
I think it's Quantico.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's interesting. How old was he in this picture? Do you know?
Let's see, this picture is probably 1942. He was born in 1917.
Okay.
So
Yeah, he's 3 years older than my father, who's also World War II veteran, which was the reason I was interested in this book to begin with.
mhm.
So I can't wait to read it. I haven't read it yet, but I can't wait to read it. So what was it like going through these letters? Tell me a little bit how you felt as you were reading these things, and were they written in English? Would be the
Yeah, otherwise I wouldn't be able to read them.
yeah.
They he said things like he wanted to open an ice cream stand in Guantanamo because it was so hot there. That the base barber shop had the candy stripes wrapped around a palm tree. Uh,
I could see he had a good sense of humor, huh? Yeah.
uh, he wrote a column for the base newspaper in North Carolina or South Carolina called Hot Flashes.
So you weren't able to get too much info on his stay in South Carolina?
No, there was no letters in there for that. So
Yeah.
apparently, his brother probably didn't keep them.
Yeah, because
Uh,
there was a whole ton of German prisoners sent to South Carolina as well. So that's probably why they moved him there.
yeah, and he seldom talked about his experiences during World War II. At one point, I asked him, I said, "Did you know that the Holocaust was going on in Germany?" And he said he did. And I said, "Well, what did you do about it?" And he never answered the question.
Hmm.
Well, research for the book, 5% of all American Jews, about 500,000 of them, enlisted in the armed services to fight Hitler.
Hmm.
So a lot of Jews responded as best they could by getting into the military.
Sure. Absolutely. It makes sense, right?
Yeah, he was a typist and a clerk, and he had a office which was just slightly bigger than a closet. And he got so bored he was reading Army regulations.
I can't wait to read these letters. It sounds like he was a very humorous fella.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, but your lamentation about him not talking much about his service is common, myself included. You know, you look back, you wish they talked more. You can almost understand why they didn't, but I'm so happy you were able to have his letters to peruse, you know?
Yeah, and I also got a transcript of an 18-page autobiography that his father dictated to his sister-in-law, Morris's wife, Frances, on my grandfather's name was Louis Fradin, on his trials and tribulations in immigration and rising up from poverty from Ukraine to the United States.
Mm.
So that as an introduction at the beginning of the book.
Good, that's good. And did you have to do any kind of how would I say it, honing before publication, like excerpt this and delete this and
No, I publish in the book the actual letters. It's a picture, a scan of the actual letters.
okay.
In some cases where it wasn't as easily legible, I transcribed them. And then each one is it's organized around the date on the letter. And I did research of what was happening in the world and the United States around the time that the letter was written.
Hmm.
So sort of a contextual history.
Right.
Uh,
Did you augment what was happening around the world with the letters, or just let the letters speak for themselves?
it was what was happening around the world when the letters were written,
Hmm.
to put the letters in context of what was going on.
Right. So you added that to each letter. See, I haven't read the book yet, so I'm at a disadvantage. I don't know how it's presented. It's presented chronologically.
Yes,
Yeah, and you added some augmentation as to put the letter in context.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, I understand. So when did Jaime pass away?
He died at age 82 or 83 in 2003 to 2004.
Oh, he had a good full life, huh? Yeah. And so you knew him. You got to know him very well as an adult yourself.
Yeah, pretty much. But we lived in different parts of the country. He retired as a plumber when he was 55, had a knee injury from falling through some steps at work. And my mother came down with breast cancer when I was 18. So they retired. I was born and raised in Detroit. They moved to St. Petersburg, Florida, and I went off to college at the University of Michigan. Then
Mhm.
I went to Washington, D.C., then to Minnesota, and then to California. And he stayed in Florida and then did move to San Diego. I was able to see him down there uh, before he moved to Ohio.
Oh, so he had a very interesting life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he ever talk to you about his father?
Very little. I remember his father passed away around 1963, 64, and we were in Detroit at the time. And I wanted to go to the funeral, and he declined to take me in Washington, D.C. Um,
Well, you were probably too young for that anyway, right? Back
yeah, I
then.
was like
Yeah.
12 at the time.
Yeah. So he didn't really discuss his father much with you,
Not much at all.
or even his mom.
No, his mom passed away before I was born.
Um,
So I never knew her. So I just knew Lewis's second wife. Only met her maybe 2 or 3 times.
hmm. Well, I'm kind of jealous because number one, I know we communicated yesterday or earlier, and you were in Hawaii. It's still chilly here in New York, so I was jealous to begin with. Now I'm jealous about how much of your own ancestry and lineage you have at your disposal.
Yeah, the it was 79 degrees and really hot in Maui
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah. Thanks, David. Appreciate that.
Sunny, 10 degrees.
I I have to ask, do you have plans? I don't want to keep going back to that French thing. I found that incredible that you were able to have that. Um, the story of your great 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 grandmother. Do you have plans for that?
Uh, I did all the research that I could. I also
Uh-huh.
did a lot on ancestry to try to build out the family tree. Uh, One time when I was in Washington, D.C., I was running a student association that I started in support of science and technology. And the Soviet American science fair was going on at the time. So I met with some of the officials from the science fair and at the Watergate Hotel of all places.
Okay.
And one of the things you don't do is go into a room with a bunch of Russians and drink vodka on a test tube. And
Something
I
tells
was
me they'll
asked,
win that game, whatever game you might want to play.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So in the course of our drinking, I offered and took them on personal tours of the White House, the United States Capitol, and for some reason the National Zoo. They asked me what's my name. I said Fradin. They said Jewish. So I think I've got hundreds of relatives in the Chernobyl area,
Oh.
many of which probably glow in the dark.
Well, maybe they emigrated further south towards Kiev and point south from there after that
I hope so.
nuclear thing. Um, so you still have family in Ukraine now?
I believe I do. I was
Yeah.
able to find one of them and communicate with him via email. He was a software engineer, programs video games, and
Mm,
he was living in let's see, that'd be Eastern Ukraine when the war broke out, the second war, and the Russians advanced further. And I think he was able to get his mother to leave with him. A lot of people would not leave their homes
right.
and went to Western Ukraine. And I asked him, "Do you need any money? Is there anything I could do to help you?" He said, "No, I'm doing fine." And he bought a 3D printer, and he makes fins that you can stick on a hand grenade in order to drop it from a drone on the Russians. So last time I heard from him, he's got 3 of these 3D printers, and then he mails the printed tail assembly to the front lines.
Holy mackerel. What a,
Innovative and entrepreneurial, the Ukrainian people are.
yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, I know for some reason there's a whole ton of video game developers that were or are located in Ukraine.
That's right.
For
Well, they
some
got
reason, there was like a hub of them there.
Well, the Russians in general, and Ukraine used to be part of Russia.
Hmm.
Uh, and I went to Sarah Silverman's concert in Maui on Saturday.
Oh,
Her parents are of Russian and Polish descent, just like my grandparents. And they all of them excelled greatly in math, uh,
mm,
both in Russia itself and in Ukraine. And in fact, a large portion of the Soviet defense industry was based in Ukraine, including they built the largest airplane that ever flew, which the Russians burned up when they first tried to attack Kiev when the war started a
yeah.
little 2 years ago.
Yeah, how fast that time went, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sikorsky, now here known as the Sikorsky helicopters, I think I'm correct, is a Ukrainian aircraft firm.
Mm. Yeah,
Or
they are technologically savvy for sure.
yeah,
And yeah, I just know personally because I play video games from time to time, and I know that a lot of the developers were or are located in Ukraine. So that I found that interesting that you brought that up before. So this is such an interesting book. I can't wait to read it myself. Um, I,
you'll like my next book then. It's called Trippin', Life's Little Laughs, an unauthorized autobiography
of you or of
of me.
oh, okay. So Jaime, that's it. Jaime's had his chance.
Heidi's done.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk about David. Well, you seem like a funny guy yourself. I think you inherited some of Jaime's sense of humor.
Yeah,
And
I'm really glad I didn't become a plumber.
well, if the knees wouldn't have gotten you, the back would eventually. That's a
Well, uh, he taught me everything I needed to know about plumbing, and that is shit runs downhill.
that's all you really do need to know. Absolutely. Um, that's so interesting. I appreciate you coming on, David. I can't wait to read the book. Oh, I was going to ask you on Amazon, there's an audiobook version of this, correct?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
I
who
never.
does you did the narration?
Yeah,
Okay.
and also my other books, I have audio book versions that I narrated.
Okay. All right. Well, I'd rather read it, but no offense to you, David, you know.
It's actually better to be read because then you get to see the letters and all the pictures that date back to probably around 1930.
Okay, so you included some photographs from them that
Yeah.
era? Well, that's good.
Well, near the end of the book, I tell the story of where my dad and mom took my sister and I on a road trip from Detroit to Chicago to Las Vegas to Los Angeles to San Francisco, Sacramento, Reno, Winnemucca, uh, uh, Grand Tetons, Grand Canyon, Zion National Park. And Yellowstone and so forth, and all the humorous things that happened on that trip.
Yeah, good. I would I can't recommend this book to our listeners and viewers yet, but I have a feeling I will be able to after I read it. I certainly appreciate you coming on, David. What's the name again of the book you have in the works?
Trippin', an unauthorized autobiography, uh, Life's Little Laughs.
And what's your ETA on that?
Someday.
So one of these days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll look forward to that then. And do me a favor when that comes out, shoot me an email. I'd like to have you back on and talk about that book.
Be happy to.
And in the meantime, as I say, the name of the book is "Letters from My Hymie." What's the subtitle?
It's the a little history of from a first person, starting with immigration from Ukraine in 1914 to the New World War II, Disneyland, and beyond.
Oh, it sounds like a fascinating read, and I've said it already 3 times, but I certainly can't wait to read it. So,
I hope
um,
you and a few thousand of your listeners will buy the book and leave nice reviews on Amazon so it can become a bestseller.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you how it's faring so far.
I haven't looked.
Yeah. Sometimes you're better off not looking, you know?
Well, the cousin sent me the cousin that sent me the letters. She lives in Florida. She used to work for Fox Movies, the studio in L.A.
Hmm.
And so I put a picture in there of her, and she hates lizards. So I had a picture of a bunch of lizard pictures in there. And I sent the book to her after I autographed it. And it cost me, $15 to buy the book and $5 to mail it to her. I didn't charge her for my autograph. And she had the audacity to write me back saying, this is never going to become a bestseller. So I would like it to become a bestseller just out of spite.
There you go, David. Well, how long has it been out?
It got released December 28th.
Oh, so it's a baby. We have to run it up the flagpole, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And you know what? As soon as I get the book and read it, I'll shoot you an email, tell you. I'll leave a review on Amazon too.
That'd be great.
But
And
for
you,
this book, folks, if you just check the show notes below this episode, you'll see the link to David's page and that other site. I lost it already. No, spicecatalysts.com. So the link to both will be there, and I highly recommend you check out this book as I am about to myself. So have a great evening, David. Enjoy the balmy weather. You're in California now, right?
yes,
You were in Hawaii yesterday.
it's raining and it's 57 degrees and it's cold.
Oh, well, at least we got the sun out here in New York, you know. Thanks for telling me that, though. I feel a little bit better.
Good. Trying to do that. One of the things you'll get a kick out in the introduction to Letters from My Hymie. There's a picture of me as a little baby boy sitting in a high chair, and I got these red marks all over my face. And the server came up to the table and said, "Oh, what happened to the little boys? He got measles or the mumps?" And my dad said, "No, he's just learning how to eat with a fork."
Well, I think you might have honed it by now, no?
Sometimes I miss.
Yeah, there you go. Well, this was a fun episode. I appreciate you coming on, David, and I hope to be in touch with you sometime in the future as well.
Sounds good.
All right, have a great night.
Take care.